Yeah, and that's what I was explaining with my wife. I told her, I said it was so weird because, especially in the line of work that I'm in, I'm no stranger to death. Like, I see it more than anybody ever should. And that goes for any first responders, military. I mean, you almost get callous to it. And I told her, I was like, it felt like I was grieving a death in the family, man. Like, it was so strange. I'd never, like, I'm always heartbroken when you see, like, the school shootings and all of that, just because, like, senseless violence has no place in this country, or any country for that matter. But there was something about this, man. Like, I had to shake myself because it had me so depressed. And I really had to spend some time with the Lord. And it's almost like he had to shake me and go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, there is nothing, like, no amount of tears can bring him back. No amount of sadness can bring him back. The only thing you can do now is figure out what you're going to do from here and make sure that his legacy, his voice, his message still continues.
First and foremost, God's going to lead this podcast. God will lead it. Not me. Not me. And anything associated with this podcast, it's going to be God first. And I have some plans with it, right? But his plans may not be the plans that I have. So it's something that I have to pray about and get with more godly men who can also help me discern some stuff as well. But no, the whole thing is shifting. Tyler Bowles, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've known each other. Good Lord.
As long as I've been alive, pretty much.
Right? Our parents grew up together, so.
Yeah, I was about to say family, friends, and we practically considered each other family the whole entire time, so.
Yeah, we haven't hung out much since we become adults, but.
Adulting sucks.
Yes, it does. I can't stand it, personally.
No, man, anything I could do to go back like 10 years. Oh, man. About the time I started driving.
I would do it too. Just to get rid of these responsibilities for a little while.
You ain't kidding. And like, I was trying to rush through it, right? I was like, oh man, you just wait till I turn 18 and all this. Well, all this stuff that I said was going to happen when I turned 18 didn't happen. The only thing that I accumulated over that time was bills, stress, and responsibility.
And all I did was gain weight and the same thing.
Oh no, I put on weight too. I just, yeah. The years have been rough.
Yeah, absolutely. They can be. That's for certain. So you are, what are you doing for work these days?
So I'm in law enforcement per my agency's policy, though. I cannot disclose where I work at. I could talk about the things of the job, but just not anything that's agency specific. Just, yeah, because I'd rather not get fired. So, but yeah, I've worked in law enforcement for the last 3 years. About 6 months of that was in detention. Went through the police academy, and now I've been on patrol. I've worked in the narcotics division for a little while. Now I'm back on the patrol, and yeah, apparently there's some things in the works that I'm not even totally aware of yet. So there's going to be a lot of changes, hopefully soon, but good changes. So I'm going to hopefully move away from the swing shift schedules and having, every other weekend off and being on call all the time, to where now it's going to be a more consistent schedule, Lord willing, fingers crossed. So
yeah, narcotics division, what's that like?
It was different. It was it's kind of like, the best way I know how to describe it, it's about 5% of the cool stuff that you see on TV, and 95% is paperwork and endless hours of surveillance and not being able to move for like 10 hours at a time, which is a lot of the reason why I left, because I can't sit still.
You're telling me it's not like how they portrayed in the movies?
No.
You mean Hollywood lies to us? No way.
I know. Now, They do get some things correct, right? Like the whole like wear a mask and kicking indoors and stuff. Like we did that, but it was after 3 months of sitting in, less than ideal conditions, watching a house through a set of binoculars for 12, 13 hours a day, and then being at the office till 2 a.m. doing paperwork, and then having to be back at the office at 6 a.m. Like the hours were horrible, horrible. So I got out.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And now you're on patrol. Is patrol probably better? Would you say it's better for you?
Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that at least everything is more consistent to a degree. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that sometimes things happen and you don't get off work when you're supposed to, but it is for the most part pretty consistent. Like as long as nothing changes, I can tell you what days I'm going to have off 2 years from now. Whereas when I was in narcotics, it was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be off Thursday, but it depends on if a buy goes down. And if this person decides that they don't want to show up, then that buy gets moved to a Saturday at 2:30 in the morning. Like my phone was always ringing. It just, yeah. So for family life and just for a more consistent life in general, oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I couldn't imagine. I don't think I would do very well in the police force. I debated on doing it when I got out of the military. I actually talked to your dad about it, and believe it or not, he advised against it.
Oh, he tried to get me to not do it too. So I just didn't listen.
He said, I'll be honest with you, Ryder. It's probably not a good choice.
Yeah, he told me the same thing. He still wants me to quit.
Really?
Yes.
You know, the church that we went to yesterday morning, I think we talked about this, but the pastor's name is Billy Louie.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows your daddy. They both work at the same sheriff's office.
Yeah, I don't know if I know him.
He
it
said
may
he
have
knew
been
Ronnie.
from, yeah. Well, I mean, but gosh, Dad's been in the profession for 25 years. So
I'm sure he's got a crazy career.
Oh yeah, stuff that I'm sure I don't even know about. And I'm
yeah,
sure
I mean, your dad, he also went to Afghanistan too. I know that.
Yeah, he did. He did that for 2 years. He would be gone for like 3 or 4 months, and then he'd be home for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
I remember him not being home much whenever we would come and hang out at y'all's house. Because mom would always, it seemed like it's just about every weekend we'd go over to y'all's house.
Yeah, that was pretty accurate, especially during that time, just because like there was so much stuff that was shaken up in that time, Like you go from now obviously with him being in law enforcement, we were used to him not being home a lot, like it was just part of it. But when you go from him being home every other weekend and he's got days off in the middle of the week, like we still saw him throughout the week. It just might have been on different days. You go from that to now he's gone for 3 months, and sometimes depending on what's going on, you can't get a hold of him, you can't talk to him. So like you see everything that's going on, because that was like right in the middle of Operation Enduring Freedom. So there was a lot of stuff going on over there, and so like you just didn't know. Like you didn't know if he was ever going to get a phone call. There was times that I talked to him on the phone, I would hear like a super loud explosion in the background, and then he'd just be like, I got to call you back. Click.
Jeez.
So, yeah. So we needed all of the family and friends that we could surround ourselves with at that time. So that definitely had a lot to do with it, and it helped a lot.
Right. My mom and I, we have a lot of our differences now. She's actually not speaking to me currently.
Oh, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, no, she's not speaking to me. We've had some differences. I'll just say it. She had a scheduled gallbladder surgery, or a gallbladder removal, and people who know me know that I'm a stay-at-home dad for right now. And I was home with the kids, and my wife was at work, so she got upset with me because I didn't go and see her while she was at the hospital. It's like, okay, Mom, I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and you want me to just come to the hospital? I didn't feel like it was good to keep my kids in that kind of a situation because, I mean, what are they going to do?
Right.
So, but like I texted her and I asked her to keep me updated, and we had some other family that was there too. I asked them to keep me updated. So it's not like I wasn't keeping tabs on my mama, making sure she was okay. And she texted me before and after the surgery. But then she sent me a pretty hateful text message how she didn't appreciate how I handled that. And that was 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago is when that was. So she's not speaking with me right now.
Well, man, I hate to hear that. I think
It's one of those things. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. But
y'all always
no,
do.
it seems like whenever I turned 15, 16, right, and I started to develop my own opinions on my life and where I wanted to go, seems like me and her just kind of, I guess, sort of been at odds. We just haven't got along all that much. And I don't know why that is.
I mean, I went maybe not to the same scale, but I mean, I went through the same thing when I was going into my like mid to late teens.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially men, once we figure out like once we get something in our minds, we're fixated and we're hyper focused, and you're not going to tell us otherwise. Like I think it's just how we're hardwired. And so yeah, sometimes it can cause some conflicts because, like I said, I went through it too.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good thing we got the Bible.
Absolutely.
And that just, yeah, no, it's a good thing we got the Bible for sure. But yeah, and then let's see. My dad, he was in the Army for 22, 23 years, and he was a part of the big invasion, like the I don't even know exactly when it was, right? I don't know what year it was, or I don't know what it was called, but he was part of the invasion into Iraq, I guess in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And his battery was the forwardmost air defense battery in that whole theater. And so I remember we were living at those apartments there in Tyro, right there past Stamey's barbecue.
Yep.
But we were staying in those like townhomes, not apartments, townhomes. We were staying in those townhomes, and I would go months and not hear a single thing from Dad. So it was kind of, I think that's where you and I have a similarity there with, our parents doing their stuff, right? But I wouldn't hear from Dad probably about 2 to 3 months, and then he'd call me and it'd be a quick little conversation, and I didn't hear explosions in the background, but he'd have to go. Come to find out, he earned a Bronze Star during his deployment.
Oh wow.
Yeah, for fixing the radar system that was attached to his air defense unit. So those guys didn't get sleep for like 72 hours. And I won't tell the full story. That's his story to tell. But no, it's just yeah, we spent a lot of time with y'all during those years.
Yeah. Played sports together, whole nine.
Yeah. Went to church together. I remember you used to go up to the it was at the end of the service, and you would go up to the front and you would sing God Bless the USA. I was just talking about that today with my wife. I said Tyler would go up there and sing that song every single weekend.
Hey, you know what though? It's a fabric. It's in the fabric of who I am. So I meant it then, and I mean it now.
I loved it.
I love this country.
I do too. I really do too. Which leads us into the next bit here, and we've talked about this off stream here or off camera here, but September 10th was
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It was a pretty life-changing day for me. It really was.
Oh,
It
me
put a
too.
lot of things.
Me
It
too.
put a lot of things into perspective for me. Uh, I don't know if you can tell how nice and shiny and brand new this is.
Oh, that's pretty.
Oh yeah, it smells good too.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, the
that,
new pages with the leather. Just
it's so
put that in a
nice.
Yankee candle.
Hey, we got yeah. Hey, we got it. We got it for $10 off, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, we got it for $10 off instead of $40 there at Walmart. Got it for 30.
I
Because
am really curious to see how much Bible sales have shot up since then. Matter of fact, I'm going to look that up real quick because I'm
go ahead.
curious.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about that too because it's come across my FYP on all of my socials. The just the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who have gone back to church in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah.
In
Let's see.
it's a it's a grim reminder of, how do I say it? It just put things into perspective for me, I reckon.
Oh, yeah. And I think it has for everybody. Anybody that's been involved with this, I think. And not even really involved, more or less. I mean, because he was an influential figure, very influential. Mm-hmm. And I think anybody who has been influenced by him, man, it was just like, you never would have thought that this would have happened. But here we are.
No, you wouldn't. And I wasn't like an avid follower of Charlie, and I didn't really know him. I've seen lots of his clips on Facebook and YouTube and social media, but I wasn't somebody who consumed his content on YouTube all the time either.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't think I've ever shed tears for someone for the passing of someone that I didn't even know.
Yeah, and that's what I was explaining with my wife. I told her, I said it was so weird because especially in the line of work that I'm in, I'm no stranger to death. Like I see it more than anybody ever should. And that goes for any first responders, military. I mean, you almost get callous to it. And I told her, I was like, it felt like I was grieving a death in the family, man. Like, it was so strange. I'd never, like, I'm always heartbroken when you see, like, the school shootings and all of that, just because, like, senseless violence has no place in this country, or any country for that matter. But there was something about this, man. Like, I had to shake myself because it had me so depressed. And I really had to spend some time with the Lord, and it's almost like he had to shake me and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, there is nothing, like, no amount of tears can bring him back. No amount of sadness can bring him back. The only thing you can do now is figure out what you're going to do from here and make sure that his legacy, his voice, his message still continues.
Absolutely. I think, and I'm not so sure that my response, right, like my emotional response, I'm not sure that my response to this would have been as extreme as it was if I didn't see the comments and the videos of people celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
The death of a husband and a father. How quickly people have forgotten that he had a wife, a young wife. They were young. He was 31. His wife was like right around the same age. I think a couple years younger than him. I think, but I don't know how old Eric is, but
I don't know.
Now there is a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who don't have a dad. They need him. And I don't care what anybody in this country has to say, or I don't care what any ideology has to say across the world. We don't get far without men and without fathers leading the way. We don't. That's in the Bible. That's in this book right here.
So I cannot find anything as far as like specifically like an increase in Bible sales from Charlie Kirk, but I have found this. So since 2024, it says a 22% increase in U.S. Bible sales through October. But then when it goes to his social media following, it says when Charlie was shot, he had approximately 1.7 million followers on Instagram. Today, that number has soared to over 10 million.
Good Lord.
So that's 8.3 million more souls now hearing his voice, seeing his content, and receiving his message. And this says, evil thought that it could silence him, but instead his influence has only multiplied. His voice now carries further, his testimony of truth is louder, and his courage still inspires millions to stand firm. And it says, Jesus said, you are the light of the world, a city that has been set on a hill and cannot be hidden. Charlie lived that scripture. He chose to be a light boldly, shining in the dark, even in the most dangerous of times.
Yeah. I don't think the opposite side fully understands what they did. No. I don't think they understand just how bad they lost.
Mm-mm.
They're celebrating their own demise, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, and because what's happening is now the people who are more right leaning, or even the independent side, those who are like, well, this is no use in having a conversation. You know, I'm just going to let it go. It's not use in having arguments. Those people, I think, have now woke up. And I have seen accounts on social media where people were like, I used to be left leaning, and after seeing how these people celebrated, I'm no longer associated with them. I'm coming over to the other side.
Yep. I considered myself to be a center right person. I'm a lot more right than I was 5-6 days ago.
Oh, me too. Me too.
I got to be honest with you, Tyler. I'm at a point now, right after the tears and after the thoughts, some of them not godly, just to be honest with you. I'm of a mind that there is genuinely just a good and an evil.
Yeah.
And the good will prevail.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know how political you intend on this episode to be, so I'll refrain. But
no, get to it. Get to it. The direction of my podcast is going to change forever. It's going to change forever. This is going to be the first episode where the entire overarching mission has just completely changed for me.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's no longer men's mental health and how men can navigate through vulnerability. Not in any way, shape, or form. First and foremost, God's going to lead this podcast.
Yeah.
God will lead it. Not me. Not me. And anything associated with this podcast, it's going to be God first. And I have some plans with it, right? But his plans may not be the plans that I have. So it's something that I have to pray about.
Oh,
and,
yeah, me too.
and get with more godly men who can also help me discern some stuff as well. But no, the whole thing is shifting. The whole thing is shifting. I took men's mental health off of my YouTube banner. I took that off and I replaced it with faith. So now it's fatherhood, manhood, faith. And where it was fatherhood, manhood, men's mental health. And no, I'm completely done catering to this evil ideology to where you can kill babies, to where you think that you can just silence people by murdering them just for having a completely different opinion than you have. By the way, the people that think that way, if you're listening to this podcast, you're wrong. And it's a very evil ideology that you have.
Yeah. And the thing about it, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I think this ideology has stemmed back from generations. And I think it stems from a place of, people just believe that people are just good. And evil may try to creep its way in, but people are just good. And I disagree with that. And I was listening to, I want to say it was Nick Freitas maybe the other day.
Love Nick Freitas.
And he was like, he had somebody actually bring up this argument to him, and he said, okay, well, if we think that all people are good and you just have a couple evil people, let's do this. He said, do you have kids? And she's like, yeah, I've got a few of them. And he said, okay, any of them within the ranges of like 2 to 3, maybe 4? And she's like, yeah, I've got some 2-year-olds, or I have a 2-year-old, and I think she said like a 3 or 4-year-old. And he said, okay, well, you obviously know how toddlers and babies react, and how they act, and how emotions literally drive them. He said, if you think that people are just inherently good, let's take a bunch of 2-year-olds, put them all in the same room, put one toy in the room, and see what happens. You laugh, but what would happen, right?
No, exactly. You're
Because
exactly right.
do you think that they're going to get together and go, okay, like that, we're going to devise a plan here to where all of us can have this one toy for the same amount of time. That way we all have a fair share. No. Their emotions and their will to have that toy is what's going to drive them. It takes somebody, I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this. It takes somebody to actually instill discipline and to effectively guide them to go, hey, as a society, we don't need to act like this. This is how we need to act going forward. And I said all that to say, all of this mess that's been happening for the last few weeks with all the school shootings and with the murder of Charlie Kirk, if you look at one of the underlying factors that it seems to be is a pretty consistent factor, is somewhere transgenderism is in there.
Yes.
And what I think, going back to, people just believe that, oh, people will just be good and evil may try to sneak in. It's the same mentality that goes, oh, okay, you're 6 years old and you're biologically a male, but you feel like a female. Okay, we'll change your name. We'll give you the puberty blockers. And you're enabling that behavior. And now you fast forward 10 years, 20 years, and we have the mess that we have today.
Yeah. And it also shouldn't come as some kind of weird surprise, right? Because what's the biggest thing that legacy media has perpetuated in their messaging in the past 10 years, or whenever Trump decided he was going to run for office, right? That's not like when it all began, so to speak, but that's when the anti-fascist messaging really started becoming a mainstream, as we know it today, a mainstream belief among Democrats and among left-leaning medias.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell mentally ill people enough times that a certain way of thinking is relative to Nazis and fascists. These people must be eradicated. You say that enough times, they're going to act on it. And we're seeing that.
And the thing about it, in their minds, when they act upon it, it's no different than like when we celebrated at whenever Osama bin Laden was killed, or when Saddam Hussein was killed. These people actually killed people. They gassed their own people. Like these were truly evil men. So different than Charlie Kirk or any of the other conservative influencers. But because they can't differentiate between hyperbolic rhetoric and what is actually a fascist or a Nazi, they can't differentiate it. So they truly see them. I mean, obviously, you can pass a microphone around to anybody in this country, and if you ask them, hey, do you think Nazis were horrible people? If I would like to say 100% would say yes, but you got some crazy ones out there. The good people who actually contribute to society and who are decent human beings are going to say, yes, Nazis were horrible people.
Yep.
But they can't differentiate because there's something going on in their brain that really makes them think that Donald Trump really is a Nazi or Charlie Kirk really was a Nazi. And so in their mind, they're just eradicating a problem.
It doesn't make sense to me. To me, it doesn't make sense why that ideology is so hateful, even though they try to make themselves out to be like the most tolerant people in the world.
Because in my opinion, when they can't give a good answer, they place a label on something so they no longer have to try to find middle ground with it.
Yeah. I think they know they're wrong. And I think they know I think deep down people know that there's something wrong with them. And instead of just admitting it, they act the way they do. You know, and now, I mean, there was even a beheading in Texas. Did you see that?
I did not see that. When did that happen?
It was same day. Same day. So you had a beheading in Texas at some apartment complex.
Was it politically motivated or just?
I think it was just some crazy guy, to be honest with you.
Okay. I was just
But
curious.
you had a beheading in Dallas. You had that school shooting in Colorado. And then right around 3 p.m. on September 10th, that's when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I had the unfortunate displeasure of seeing that video.
I did too. And that was how I found out about it.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a notification come across my phone from Epoch News, I think, which I don't even know how that happened. I don't ever recall subscribing to their newsletter, but whatever. So it might be with Apple, actually. I don't know. But anyways, so I got the notification, and to be honest with you, I saw that it said Epoch News and then Charlie Kirk, and I swiped away from it at first. And then about 10 minutes later, I got another notification, but this was a Facebook notification. And so I opened it up, and I don't normally open up Facebook notifications. I'm not on Facebook that much. I have been here. I've been more on it more lately, but then it read Charlie Kirk's been shot in critical condition. And then knows probably 20 minutes maybe after that, my wife was like, I have the video. I was like, what video? Of Charlie? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what, like the video that shows him getting shot? And she's like, yeah. So she sent it to me. Because all the news reports were saying was that he was in critical condition. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what they mean by critical condition. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, no.
No. My humble opinion, and I don't know this, I'm not a medical examiner, but seeing how his body reacted to the shot as well as the shot placement, in my humble opinion, I think he was dead before he even hit the ground.
Yep. I hope, my hope and prayer is that he didn't feel any pain.
Yeah. Well, either way, I don't think he would have, because I know he lost so much blood from where he got hit that he would have passed out like in less than a second.
Yeah. My wife was telling me that, and she's a nurse. She was telling me that the carotid arteries or carotid artery where he had got hit, it is essentially a pressurized pipe, so to speak. And as soon as she said that the only way that Charlie would have had a chance is if somebody literally stuck their finger in where the bullet had entered his body.
Yeah.
And even then, he wouldn't have been who we knew him to be before. There would have been irreparable damage to him. So my hope is that he didn't suffer, and I don't want to get super duper into detail on his death per se, cause just out of respect. But I will say that when I saw that, it took my breath away.
Oh, me too.
I'm not used to seeing stuff like that. I was in the military. I never deployed. I've never, just to be honest with you, I don't think I've been maybe in one fight. If it was even a fight, might have just been a scuffle. I have no idea. I didn't get hit. I kicked somebody, but that's not the point. I've not seen stuff like that. And people in America, and I don't care what anybody says, this is not a third world country. People our age did not grow up seeing stuff like that. So when you see that, it'll make your heart skip a beat just about.
Yeah.
And then just this fire raged inside of me. Right. I was so quick to be angry. And The Bible says, right? God says we're not to be quick to anger, right? That's how I've always been led to believe. But I was really angry, and then the celebration comments started coming in. The videos started coming out. I mean, there was even a guy on a bullhorn screaming or singing "We got Charlie in the neck" or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. Which, can I say something to encourage you real quick?
Yeah.
So, just to remind
Absolutely.
you, so that you referenced is in the Old Testament. But Jesus had even said, it's okay to be angry, just don't sin. So I just, for you and whoever else is listening, like, if you feel bad because you're angry about it, it's okay to be angry. Righteous anger is a thing. But anyway, continue.
No, I was going to get there, but I'm glad that you said that. It was actually part of the sermon from
Oops.
Pastor Louis from
My
Pastor
fault.
Louis this week. No, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I was getting ready to get there like 2 seconds, so I mean, I'm glad that you said that. But just the overwhelming feeling of emotions, and then to think that, like I had told you before, that a father no longer is here, a husband is no longer here, and all indications that I have seen coming from what little bit I've seen from Erica and what little bit of video footage that I've seen with the interactions between Charlie and his children and his family, very happy family.
Mm-hmm.
Every family has its problems, but all in all, I mean, nothing indicated to me that there was any sort of problems there with the family.
No.
I mean, I saw a video. This is the one that tore me up the most. I saw a video where his daughter was running up to him after they had just got done filming something for Fox and Friends.
Yes, I've seen that.
Her arms were his little daughter's arms were wide open, and she said, "Daddy," and I was just like, okay, I broke down right then and there.
Oh man, I've cried off and on for the last 5 days.
Yeah, yeah, but it maybe even to a point of shame, it was a grim reminder for me. And the reason why I say shame is because I am a little bit ashamed that it took that for me to get back to this. I'm very ashamed to admit that.
Well, and the fact is, we can all do better, myself included. I wasn't where I needed to be, and I don't think we ever will be.
Yeah.
You know,
We all fall short of the glory. I've been told that my whole life, and yeah, we all fall short of the glory of God.
and I fall daily. So, I'm not a perfect man. Don't claim to be. Never will. All we can do is do better than we did yesterday.
I absolutely agree, and that's why everything. That's why I was telling you everything about this podcast is changing. I'm still going to be talking to men, and I'm still going to try to find out the best thing for us men. And that can be young men, that can be middle-aged men, that can be, I mean, there's even old men that struggle too. So the whole thing is to be the best men that we can be. And before, I was just trying to get to the bottom of some underlying issues in the men's community in our country. But now I have the answer to the men's mental health crisis. I know the answer to, maybe I don't know like the answer, but I know what holds the answer to
Yep.
the mental health crisis in our country, in our world, really. So I'm done trying to explore that avenue whenever I can dive into this book here, and it'll tell me everything I need to know.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that being said, how do we respond? Right? How do we respond to this situation? Because I still don't think responding in violence is the answer, because vengeance is not mine. It's not
No.
yours. vengeance is God's. God will have his vengeance as he sees fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but how do we respond as men, as leaders?
Well, you will find all throughout Scripture, God requires his people to take a stand. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be pushovers either. I'm not advocating for violence. I think it goes without saying that I think violence is horrible. And the only reason why, like, as far as me being in the profession that I'm in, people probably hear me say that and go, well, you don't you don't want violence, but you work in law enforcement. Yeah, because I have to use violence to overcome violence. But I would rather just go to work every day and not have to worry about encountering violence or having to use violence. It makes the world a much better place. That should go without saying, but there are some people out there who will try to argue that. But that being said, it brings my attention to now a lot of people actually don't talk about this. So when Jesus had the Last Supper with the disciples, and he tells Peter, hey, just so you know, I already know this. You're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. The next section, I believe this is in the book of Luke. Jesus asked the disciples, he said, hey, when I sent you out before without money bags and with extra sandals, did you lack anything? And they're like, no, we didn't lack anything. And now he says, well, now when you go out, take money with you, take extra things with you. And I'm paraphrasing, take extra things with you. And if you do not have a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword. The reason, in my opinion, that he told the disciples that is when Jesus was crucified, things changed.
Mm-hmm.
It went from people being in support and providing for them in these times to now you don't know who's an enemy. You don't know who's going to try to come after you. Like, what was the purpose? If Jesus did not want us as a people to defend ourselves, I'm not saying go on the offensive and incite violence. But why else would Jesus tell his disciples, if you don't have a sword, go get one?
Yeah.
And if you'll give me a second, I will find that exact scripture and I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was doing.
Starts at Luke 22 and 35. I'm going to read out of the New Living Translation. So verse 34, it's when he tells Peter that he's going to deny him 3 times. Verse 35, it says, then Jesus asked them, when I sent you out to preach the good news, and you did not have money, a traveler's bag, or an extra pair of sandals, did you need anything? No, they replied. Verse 36, but now, he said, take your money in a traveler's bag, and if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. For the time has come for this prophecy about me to be fulfilled. He was counted among the rebels. Yes, everything written about me by the prophets will come true. And verse 38, it says, look, Lord, they replied, we have 2 swords among us. That's enough, Jesus said. Times have changed. And Jesus recognized that.
Yeah. And I'm not comparing the death of Charlie Kirk to, the crucifixion of Jesus, nothing like that. But I think it's safe to say that Charlie Kirk is a martyr.
Oh, 100%.
But not only by the definition in the dictionary, but by the biblical definition.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with absolutely everything that Pastor Mark Driscoll has ever said as far as politics, but that's where I heard that from, right? The biblical definition of a martyr. And
yeah,
I think he's absolutely correct. So when you have a martyr, you're going to get these seriously changing times. And it's ringing true because some of the things that I have seen on social media and people's response to what had happened to Charlie. Yeah. I mean, there's vigils everywhere. And you had brought this up to me because I had texted you. I was like, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little worried about how people are going to respond to this.
Yeah.
You know, how many times are you going to poke the bear? And you said, yeah, but conservatives don't riot and they don't burn cities down and they don't tear their neighborhoods up. And so far, that's, for majority of situations and circumstances, that's been true so far. People are holding prayer vigils. People are gathered in masses in prayer.
See, the fact is, people mock that, but having prayer vigils and people holding prayer services is going to get far more done than rioting and pillaging and looting. Because what is it that Isaiah said, talking about Jesus, that the government would rest upon his shoulders? So if you want to change in government, you need to talk to the one upon whose shoulders the government sits on. Because he can change the hearts and the minds of those who are in political positions and affect the change that you were praying for.
How do those people get elected, though?
It takes, and admittedly, I was one of these people who were like, oh, well, I don't want my politics and my biblical beliefs to infuse with each other effectively. And I think now that changes. I think now you have to look at, what do I think that Scripture says? What do I think that the Bible says is true? And your political beliefs have to match that. So before all this had happened, I was of the opinion, and honestly, my political beliefs were like this, that the United States of America, we have freedom of religion, and not everybody should be subjected to my beliefs as a Christian. So therefore, I understand that. I respect that. So I wanted my political beliefs to err on the side of it'll benefit everybody, not just Christians. And I think now that changes. I think now, whatever you believe the Bible says to be true, whatever you think the kingdom of heaven looks like and how it operates, I think that's how things need to be looked at for this country moving forward.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm just not sure that's going to happen. I'm just not sure that that's going to happen. I want it to.
Well, but you got to look at, there's already a revival happening.
That's true. That's true. I can see the revival unfolding before my eyes. With, again, I can only go based because, I live in a rural area, more rural than, these cities where, and these mass populated areas where, you're seeing these vigils and you're seeing the revival. But so the only way that I can see it is based off of what I'm seeing on social media, YouTube, Facebook. There's even been a bunch of stuff come across my FYP on TikTok, which I don't typically see a whole lot of Bible talk on TikTok. So, yeah. I mean, I'm even seeing it there. So,
and it's like we said before, there's even people that are waking up on the left side and saying, hey, we see all these people cheering and celebrating. We don't want no part of that. And I think as long as people, the main thing is treating it like any tragic event we have in this country, it needs not to be forgotten. And as long as people remember it, I think this type of stuff will reflect in the polls. And that's not just on a national stage, that's locally with your mayors and your town council and all of it.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Order of Man. Are you familiar with that channel on YouTube? The guy that hosts that podcast and all of that content on that channel, his name's Ryan Mickler. He was in the military. He's an Iraq war vet, but he made a video in response to it. And one of the things, I'm actually going to be talking to him on Wednesday for an episode of this podcast. But one of the things he says, it directly called me out, because he was saying that a lot of us silent majority folks, more center people, right, center, left, center, right, or whatever, especially center right. And he said a lot of us have been silent for too long. And a lot of us have been like, well, I'm not a very political person, and I just don't like to have those kind of opinions. And whenever he said that, he was like, why not? Why are you not involved in politics? Because times have changed. I mean, in an instant, it all changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his argument for that is the time for people not picking a side is over. It's, you got to choose between good or evil. And men can no longer afford to stay silent, and we can no longer afford to not participate in our politics.
Yeah.
I agree with what he said. I absolutely agree with what he said. So,
it's a very true statement.
I mean, how can you not at this point, right?
Well, and ultimately, by you staying silent, you inevitably picked a side, unfortunately. And I hate to even say that, because anybody with any good moral compass within them whatsoever should be outraged by this. You should be. And if you're not, if you feel indifferent about it, if you really don't care, you've already picked a side, and you're part of the problem.
Yeah,
just being totally honest.
And a lot of what I've read, people are like, oh, so now you're mad because it got one of your own, but you weren't crying for the children that have been getting killed for years from gun violence.
Can we not be sad for both?
Exactly. It really hurts my heart. All of it. It always has. And all I've ever done is say, Lord bless those families.
Yeah.
Bless those families. Help them get through this, because they're now in the biggest fight of their lives. Losing a child.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Mm-mm.
Burying somebody that's supposed to bury you, in essence.
Yeah.
Like,
my grandmother's done it 3 or 4 times. I don't know how she's still here. Actually, you know what? I just lied. I do know how she's still here. Her faith.
Yeah.
Now, you've met my granny. She's
a strong woman.
She's a strong woman. She is very, very strong. And I know where she's going whenever she passes. She's 84. She'll be 85 this year.
I'll tell you what, man. If she don't make it, I definitely ain't gonna make it.
Right? That's what I'd be saying too.
She's a good woman.
She absolutely is. And I'm not good enough about calling and talking to her. And just another thing that I need to get better about, just to be honest. But one of the reasons why, like with Twitch streaming, because I was streaming there on Twitch for a little while, streaming video games and trying to build a community through video games on a platform that's led by people who, quite frankly, agree with this evil ideology. And I'm no longer going to be utilizing that platform. I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but I feel convicted to not do that. Right?
Yeah.
To not support a platform in which that kind of thinking and the kind of things that they allow on their platform to take place. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. And I was on the fence about it. I was on the fence. Oh, well, yeah, there's this going on, but also there's a lot of, there's almost 500 followers over there that I have. So, but no, I'm done. And the reason why I was on the fence about it was because I was nervous about offending people, right? Because of the responses that you would get and because of the hateful negative comments that you would get. But in John chapter 15 verse 18, I know you're familiar with this one. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Moving on to verse 19, if ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. So, and this particular scripture here was the basis of the sermon that I listened to yesterday from Pastor Louis. The world hated Jesus. What do you think is going to be the response to his followers?
Yeah, more of the same.
Yeah, more of the same. He was crucified, and people laughed about it, and people mocked him, and they mocked his followers, and they laughed at his followers. So I think that there comes a point in time to where there's only so much that I'm going to allow or tolerate, I guess you could say, right? Because now we're in intolerable times, in my opinion. But, and give me a second, I'll get there. I'm trying to keep the energy and motion down so that I can make a comprehensive and coherent thought here.
I get you.
I no longer care if the word of God offends people on any of my platforms. And that's going to make some people mad, and that's going to drive followers away. YouTube subscribers, TikTok followers, whatever. And I'm of a mind now to where I no longer care, because I want to walk in the path of righteousness.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to, and I pray about it, but that is genuinely what I want. And I want to prepare my family for what's going to come. How do you think us men should prepare as leaders of our home?
First and foremost, spend time at the throne. You get the best insight from the one who has all wisdom, right? But once you get that direction, see, in my opinion, that's the easy part. Then you got to have the courage and the determination to enact upon the direction that's given. That's where it's tough, because, like you said, we suffer from being ridiculed, being obvious, with this whole deal with Charlie Kirk, persecution for your beliefs. It makes it tough, because I hear people say all the time, "Oh, I don't care. I don't have any shame." You say that, but everybody has it to a degree. Everybody does. But there has to be a resolve within yourself to go, I don't care if people laugh. I don't care if people scorn. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do what's holy. I'm going to stand for what's right. And I'm going to vocalize for what is right and vocalize for change. And if you ask the Lord, God, we're in this place. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? The Bible says that if you seek him, you'll find him. But it takes effort and it takes time on our end, which, as you and I both know, effort and time are two things that it's easier said to give up than it is to actually give it up. Because we're in a driven world where Everything moves at 1,000,000 miles a second. And when you don't achieve the results quickly, you start to fall off. And sometimes that's why the Bible talks so much about farming. You ever seen a plant where you put a seed in the ground that as soon as you plant it covered up, it shoots up out of the ground and gives fruit? I haven't either. And I think we had reached a time in our country where we've gotten complacent, where we've said, or at least let me just talk about me. That way nobody can say I've called anybody else out. I'll tell you how I was. I'd gotten complacent. I'd gotten to a point in my life where I said, I hate politics. I want nothing to do with it. It has no place in the church. But then we have the mess that we have. You're fixated to a degree on, like you said, trying not to offend people. You can show the love of Jesus and still let people know when they're wrong. And that's what it boils down to. If I love you and you say, hey, Tyler, I feel like just going out and running out in the middle of the highway. Okay. The majority of people are going to be, or let me rephrase that. What used to be the quote unquote majority of people would go, you know what? Yeah, if you want to run out in the middle of the highway, you live your truth, bud. Go run out there. You do your thing. I support you. But you know that there's an 18-wheeler coming at 80 miles an hour. But because I love them and I want them to live their truth, I let them go and do it anyways, knowing the demise.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have removed from my vocabulary, even before the whole Charlie Kirk thing, was people living their truth.
Yeah.
No such thing, in my opinion.
No, that's why the air quotes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I said it too.
Though, I mean, I was making these same mistakes, right? Well, everybody has their own different way of life, and this, that, and the third. And again, I've said it probably 3 or 4 times already, and I know I sound like a broken record. There is good and there is evil. There is right and there is wrong. There is truth and there is lies. And when people say that they're going to live their truth or they're going to speak their truth, I automatically don't take that person seriously, because there is no such thing as their truth. There is the truth, and the truth is Jesus. And if like you said, their truth doesn't align with the truth, then I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Yep. And I just want to say too, so we have to be careful, especially now, with as tense and as divided as we are as a country. We have to be very careful to not put a label on people and therefore discredit them. Something that I think Charlie Kirk did so well was, even with the people that he disagreed with, even with the people that hated him, he still showed them respect. He still showed them kindness. He still showed them the love of Jesus. Even when nothing other than the fact that Jesus commands it, nobody else with any sort of ideology would love people like that. Everybody else says if they don't believe like you, don't give them the time of day. I argue the opposite, actually. That's what keeps stuff like this from happening, is having these conversations. Loving on people. I am not saying, please do not take what I'm saying and go, okay, I'm going to go out and call a bunch of left-wing Democrats a bunch of scumbags. I'm not saying that. You laugh, but tell me people aren't going to go and do that.
It's already happening.
That's not our place to do that. Regardless of how we believe, they're still fearfully and wonderfully made. God still loves them. Jesus died for them. Jesus died for the shooter of Charlie Kirk. Jesus died for all of these people who have committed all of these mass murders. He died for them the same way that he died for you and me. And I'm not saying don't let justice be served. Let justice ring out. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it was in the book of Psalms. He says, seek justice and love mercy. Not saying God is not a God of justice, because he is. But what I am saying is do not take this time to discredit people and label them and not treat them with decency and respect as human beings, because then ultimately we just give fuel and ammunition to the other side that feeds into the narrative that they're already pushing anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about it like that.
And it's tough for me to think about it like that. I really had to sit down with God today because I was furious, man. Like, I'm still mad. And it was just like the Holy Spirit just gently reminded me, because I'm like, God, justice, like something has to be done. Justice needs to be served. These people do not need to walk around like, I hope, just to be blunt, I hope these people burn in hell for what they do. And I said that. And it was almost like he just tapped me on the shoulder and was like, just remember, I died for them too. That broke me, man.
That's a sobering. Yeah, no, that's a sobering reminder, I guess I could say. I guess that's how I could word it.
Well, and it simply gives me peace in the fact that I'm glad I'm not God and he is. Because the cool thing is, I don't have to explain that. It's not my job. And it takes responsibility off of us, right? So that's why his ways are higher than our ways and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
I guess I'm in agreement with that too, because talk about a burden.
Yeah. Well, because you think about it, right? So all sin is sin in the eyes of God. And please, people who are listening out there, do not soundbite this. Do not take this out of context. Please, just follow my logic here. If God passed the gavel onto us right now, and he said, hey, what do you want to do with these people? Well, obviously, just like I said before, they killed innocent people. They should burn in hell. Okay. Have you lived perfect at all? Because if you swing the gavel on them, you have to swing the gavel on you too. Now, they have the choice. And let's just be honest, and I hope I'm wrong, but something tells me I'm not going to be. These people are so demented, Christ is nowhere in their mind whatsoever. At all. But they still have the same opportunities that we do to give their life to Christ. Now, these people are so demented, I don't think it'll happen. But just something to be a reminder. Because like we see in the media, the extremists, effectively. But the people we deal with on a daily basis, yeah, they might share the same ideologies as far as on the left side of things, but they're still people. And we still need to treat them as such. And I cannot stress that enough, because I was almost ready to, and it was just the anger that was within me that I had to really kind of settle down. I was ready to just go and start making examples of people. I really was. And again, God was like, where am I in any of that? You say you want to fix issues, but do you really want to do it the right way? And I had to take a step back.
Why are people so quick to reject Jesus? Now, I know that this is in the Bible. Somewhere in this Bible, it explains that. But why? I'm asking you, why?
Man, I really don't know. I think it's a combination of in today's time, it's indoctrination. It's being told at such an early age that it's kind of like how we view Greek mythology, right? During the time that it was in its peak, it wasn't mythology then, right? They really believed in all this stuff. And I think now people are starting to view Christianity as if it's, in fact, mythology. And when you're told this stuff so early on, it's indoctrinated in you and it's hard to get it out. Whereas when you and I were coming up and we were in the heart of the Bible Belt, it was instilled in us to go to church, to follow Jesus. It was instilled in us at an early age, and I just don't think that that is as prevalent now as it used to be. And I think it's a combination of that, along with, I'm sure people know that Jesus is real, and they know that the words in the Bible are true and they're credible. But I think, as it should, it collides with who they are and what they're doing. And they would rather continue to do what they're doing and to be the way that they are than to turn to Jesus, because I could spend 3 hours talking about this, but just to sum it up, you've got all of these things, but then you also have the legalistic side of Christianity. And what I mean by that is you have the extreme side. Everybody's got an extreme side. You have an extreme side where, and unfortunately, like I said before, the extreme side is what gets the most attention. You have the extreme side that says, ultimately, you've got to live perfect. And if not, you're going to burn in hell. And all of these things that are like that, like they demand perfection. And I think you should strive for it. But I mean, even Jesus knows we're not gonna make that mark. But they only see the extreme side of it of, well, I can't live perfect anyways. Why would I do that? Make myself miserable in this lifetime when I can just live life like I want to now and enjoy it, is ultimately what it boils down to.
What would you say to someone like me who has, right, I'll be 30 next year, and I have gone to church off and on, and I wouldn't even say I've been a lukewarm Christian, and people watching this are going to be like, well, then why are you sitting here with the Bible open and talking about these things? And, you know, how is it that you think that you can speak on these things? But what would you say to someone like me who has gone to church off and on, been in, been out, been in, been out, get back into it, backslide out of it? What would you say to people like me? Because I think there's a lot of us out here who have backslid into our ways and have fallen back to sin. Just to be completely honest with you, how do people like me become a part of the change that we need in our country?
That's a good question. Big thing for me, and I tell you this, and I know you and I had talked about this off air some. Big thing for me is find somewhere and get rooted, right? So you think about, let's just say, a tree. You take a tree or any plant will do. The same analogy applies. You put it in a pot this big. The roots can only go down so far, and if it's a smaller pot, it's going to be flimsy. You can just rip that thing out of the ground, right? You put that thing down into the earth, though, and those roots get really deep. What happens? It gets stronger. And the reason why a lot of people fall away is because they may go to church, but their involvement is lackluster. And I don't mean that to sound harsh. It is what it is. A lot of people are, they're fine with just coming to church, listening to worship, listening to a sermon, going home. And it's kind of like going to the gym. You may be motivated for a little while, and then what happens when the motivation's gone? When life happens and things don't make sense. Life pulls on you. And in those moments that life pulls on you, if you have deep roots, you're not going anywhere. It's this church hopping from this church to this church, and coming to church for a week and then being out for 6 weeks, and then coming to church for 2 weeks and then being out for 3 months. You don't have time to get established anywhere. And when you get established, make connections in that community. Get involved somewhere. It could be parking cars. It could be making coffee if your church does like coffee bars and stuff, which, whatever. I don't drink coffee, but more power to you. I can't drink it. It'll have me all jittery. Anyway, it could be anything. Greeting people at the door. Anything. Because when you're connected with those people, let me tell you what'll happen. Let's just say, coffee bar. Let's just say you work at a coffee bar, right? You're there, maybe service starts at 11. You're there at 9 o'clock, and you're helping pour drinks and that kind of thing. But then all of a sudden, now you're serving. You are part of ministry. And then you don't show up for 2 weeks. You know what's going to happen if the church operates like it should? Is those people that you were connected with are going to be blowing your phone up. Going, hey, man, where you been? You okay? We've been missing you. And that should happen anyways. But when you can centralize to like whatever department that is, so just in the analogy with people making coffee, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be more likely to spend time with the same people who work in the same ministry that you do. So it's not I'm just a face in a congregation of 100 people or 200 people or 50 people, whatever. I'm not just in a face of a congregation, but I'm part of a team. And when you're part of a team, at least in my experience, you get to a place where you almost feel a sense of obligation and a mandate to be there because other people depend on you, just like you depend on other people. And there have been times where I've wanted to get out of church because life hits me just like it does you. But I think in my mind, can you imagine what I would have to explain to all of these people as to why I'm no longer in church? And I just don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Truthfully. And that's a lot of the reason why I've stayed consistent with it, is because I don't want to have to tell people, yeah, I still love Jesus, but I just don't feel like going to church no more. I don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And you're going to be forced to have those conversations when you are involved with people. Because if you just go to a church and you don't get involved much, you can just sneak out the back door and nobody would probably ever notice.
Yep.
Let's just be honest.
I mean, that's fair.
But that, in a practical sense, but outside of the, just being involved in church, like in a spiritual aspect, it takes time. It takes dedication. Like I said before, it's like David said, early in the morning will I seek you. So whatever morning is for you, like I rotate shifts. First thing in the morning or in the afternoon, whenever you wake up, that needs to be your priority. And I struggle with that. Like right now, I just kind of get to it when I can, and I'll admit I have to do better. But when it's the first thing you do, it does a couple things. One, it sets the precedent for your day. When the first thing on your mind is whatever devotion you did, your time that you spent in prayer, whatever that was, it sets the precedent. So like if you do a devotion on peace and joy, for example, what's going to be on your mind throughout the entirety of that day, regardless of what happens at work, regardless of what happens in family life, you're going to think back to what you read that morning. Because if you do what you're supposed to meditate on it. In other words, you're supposed to chew on it, for us Southern people who don't use big words like meditate. You're supposed to chew on it. And when life gets in the way, and maybe you just read the scripture this morning of, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread, but you feel alone. But the first thing you read this morning, and it reminds you, I've never seen the righteous forsaken. It's in those moments that you need to recall that to your remembrance. And when it's not in the forefront of your mind, if you're not careful, the things of the day will be in the forefront of your mind, and then you try to squeeze your Bible reading and your prayer life into that. And sometimes it's hard to get focused.
Yeah.
And eventually you just fall off.
I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me, right? Is, I mean, I'll have, in the past, I'll have this burning fire and passion for it. I mean, I'm red hot for it. And then one thing leads to another. And then I go 6 months not go to church. I go a year without hearing a sermon. And then I find myself scrolling past biblical messaging, or whenever someone's bringing up scripture in any of the YouTube videos.
And you know why that is? You know why you scroll past it? Because I do it too. It calls you out, and nobody likes being called out.
Yeah. Then another 6 months goes by. Next thing you know, it's been 2 years since you've been to church.
Yep.
And then you just sit back and you're like, okay, I'm cussing real heavy. I'm drinking. My marriage might be falling apart. Right? These are just examples. My kids may not like me. I'm not liking myself too much. And I'm just full of shame. I'm full of guilt. And you know what? That bridge is looking mighty friendly to jump off of right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the most extreme circumstance right there. But like I've heard of people being like that. I can definitely recently, like within the past 30 days, kind of recently, just feeling ashamed and feeling guilty for not reading the Word of God and not trusting in Jesus and thinking that I can do it by myself and not holding myself accountable. And it reflected in every aspect of my life. Yeah. Every aspect. So, you know, one of the things that I want to do with this podcast, and with not just this podcast, but with the brand of Man Mode altogether, I want to form a sort of brotherhood, you could call it, where God is first and God is leading it. It's like I told you earlier. I want God to lead this whole thing. But and it does go back to something that I heard from one of Order of Man's videos. It was his most recent upload, the same episode I was telling you about earlier. One of the things that we need to do as men is to just get together and to form those relationships and to form those bonds and to really, truly find out what it means to be a man and to be a leader in our society. And it starts here at home and it bleeds out everywhere else.
Yep,
and right. I'm of a mind now to where if I don't put God first with all of that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So that's going to be one of the things that I pray about first, and then I get to work. So, but you know, Tyler, I've really enjoyed our discussion this evening.
I have too.
You have blessed me, and you know, I just thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Is there anything else that you wanted to get to? Any way that you wanted to end this off?
No, like I said, man, I'm here for you, my friend. I'm here for you. So
we're gonna get back in. I would like to do this on a as frequent of a basis as you can possibly do.
Sure.
Because I am doing it with. I will also be doing this with a guest that the episode just released this morning. I release new episodes every Monday at 7 a.m. But his name's Kevin, and he's a first responder out of Memphis, I believe. But I had a really, really good conversation. And if you personally haven't listened to that conversation, I would highly recommend that you do. not because it helps the podcast, but because I think it's a great conversation, and I think more people need to hear it.
Yes, I believe I saw. Didn't you do some shorts with it too? Because
I released one.
Okay, because it came through my short form content today, so I did see a little bit of it. I need to go back and watch it.
Well, there you go. One of the things that I'm trying to do, right, so that it does increase the reach and more people see it. Again, not when I first started it, I was doing it for my benefit, right? When I did the content creation, I was trying to find a way to occupy my time with being a stay-at-home dad, because there are periods of free time, right? Kids are napping or they're in bed or something like that, And so the idea was to just try to fill that time. But like I had already told you, I was doing it my way, right? So I had selfish reasons for doing it, and it was to occupy my time. It's never really been so much about the money or whatever, or the clout that comes with it. Just a way to fill up my time and everything. But the thing is, it felt real empty. So, and now everything's just completely different. So I want to do more Bible study, and I want to do Bible study with other men. Preferably ones that know way better than I do.
Me too.
And can and can give me a direction. And not that the previous episodes of this show were bad, right? Before, talking. I'll just talk about my solo episodes, right? Not that those were necessarily bad or whatever, but I could definitely tell that I was struggling. And one of the things I talked about in like the very first episode, and then I also brought it up with Kevin's episode too, was that I've always worked, I've always had a job. So being a stay-at-home dad has made me question my own identity. And I can't help but wonder, would I have questioned my own identity if I had just read? And if I had just done the things that I was supposed to do as a good man?
Mm-hmm.
So that's no longer the messaging of this podcast, is going to be things of that nature. So I want to do more of these Bible studies, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. But again, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.